My name is Odessa Ernst. So I got into dance when I was about 2 years old. When I was 8 years old, I was on YouTube just watching like a bunch of random videos, and I came across this video of this Russian ballet company called the Bolshoi, which is in Moscow, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. Like that moment on, I just decided like this is what I'm gonna do with my life. This is where I'm gonna go. This is like exactly everything I saw in the video was like going to be my future. So when I was 13 years old, there was this exchange program to study at the ballet school in Russia that was like associated with a company that I had always dreamed of dancing in. And I really, really wanted to go to this program. But being only 13, it was like kind of didn't seem possible. The age limit was 18, I think. And it was like an audition process, and I was like, there's no, like I can't even audition for it. And I basically begged and pleaded my way into being able to audition, and I did, and they decided just to let me go. So the summer that I was 13 years old, I went to Moscow for, I think it was 2 months, and I danced there, and it was a bunch of other Americans, so it was a little more Americanized, but still like an amazing experience. And on one of the last ballet classes of the program, the director of the Bolshoi, which is this big, ballet institution, came in with the whole crazy entourage and watched the class, and everyone was so nervous and didn't really know what was going on. And at the end of the class, I was about to leave, and as I was bowing to every person who watches, as you do traditionally in ballet, the director of the Bolshoi asked me if I wanted to stay, and I said yes. And when my contract came in the mail, one of the first pieces of paper in the big pile was a weight chart. And this weight chart essentially said how much you had to weigh according to whatever your height is, because apparently in some alternate universe, there's a cap on how much a woman should weigh. And if you were not at the weight that they said, you weren't allowed to dance. So I, at the time, was 5'8", and I was told that I had to be 107 pounds maximum to dance at all. And at my weight on the chart, it said 104 pounds. But overall, if I was over 107 pounds, I was not allowed to dance. I went to Russia anyway, obviously, and I was not at the weight, and I right away felt that I was just a different human than everybody else. You'd wake up every morning in the dormitories, and every single toilet would be filled with puke or diarrhea from people taking laxatives or just doing like terrible things to themselves. You would go to the bathroom before class, and there would be girls helping their friends throw up. Just like absolutely terrible, terrible things that happened. I think for me, the hardest thing about training to become a ballerina was probably the amount of dedication and amount of life that you have to sacrifice for it. So when I was training in Russia, it was 70 hours a week. So 10 hours a day of training. And this was just ballet training, or just dance training. So that did not include academics, which meant as an 8th grader, there was supposed to be some other time in the day for me to do that. And that was typically late at night after a 10-hour dance day. And while I was there, the house mothers, which were moms of other dancers that basically acted as like resident advisors for the dormitory, came to the common room and pulled me apart from the group of people and told me that they had counted everything that had been eaten and been thrown away inside of my trash can. And they literally numbered out like cups of yogurt and like pizza boxes and just like absurd things, as if I had eaten every last morsel of it. Not even saying that that's their business anyway if I did, but despite that, they took me in front of a mirror in front of all the other dancers in the common room and started picking me apart piece by piece, grabbing the fat off of my stomach and my legs and telling me that I was fat and that I needed to lose weight, and here's all these ways that I could do it, and they could help me get laxatives, that I need to just do this and just do that in order to look better. And I was absolutely mortified. Like, I mean, it was like probably the most embarrassing and traumatizing thing I'd ever experienced. Like, I was in front of all these dancers that I was already feeling sort of outcasted from and just not the same as, and then suddenly I was picked apart right in front of them. So that was really difficult. At the end of my time, when your contract is due, you do this, it's called a ballet exam, and it's basically like a class that you take in front of a huge panel of judges, and other dancers can watch if they want. And you go in front of them and you basically dance your ass off, and they see if they want to keep you or not. I thought I killed the dance exam, and as soon as it ended, it's like an immediate judgment basically. And as soon as I ended the exam, the ballet mistress took everyone out into the hallway, and she told everyone who passed and who didn't. And if you weren't at the specific weight limit for your height, they would just put a big T on your exam card, which stood for Tolstaya, which means fat in Russian, which I did not know until I received my exam card, and I was explained to by the ballet mistress that I was too fat to even be considered. So I'd basically done months of this hard work to prepare for this exam, got put in the center for some reason, and then didn't even have a standing chance. The summer before my senior year, I had decided that I was going to make myself like the most perfect form of myself as possible, so that nobody could ever tell me that I had any flaws ever again. And a large part of that was my body image, because I had always been told that I was too fat, or that, you know, my legs were too thick, my feet were too big, this and that. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna lose weight and be so perfect that like there's no way anyone is ever gonna be able to tell me that I'm fat or any of those things that I'm insecure about again. So the summer before my senior year, I started exercising pretty heavily, and I started tracking what I ate. Everybody at school was praising me for how I looked and asking me for tips, and oh, how did I do it? How much exercise did I do? What did I eat? And I felt exactly how I thought it was gonna make me feel. I felt super confident and just really like proud of myself. It got really, really serious to the point where I like wouldn't be able to eat more than the day before. And that included like toothpaste, that included pepper, that included any sort of spices or anything that I was ingesting. So my entire life was dictated literally by what was being ingested. The nurse at my school, and they saw me and were obviously concerned for a while, and for whatever reason didn't do anything. And they asked me if I was having any physical symptoms, and I said, yeah, well, I'm cold all the time. I'm growing this weird hair on my body that I don't know what it is. It was like weird and white and long, and I'm losing hair on my head. I'm not hungry anymore at all, weirdly enough, even though I don't eat anything. And I'm having this weird pain in my chest. And they said, well, what kind of pain? And I said, I don't know, it's like right over here next to my heart. And they said, okay, well, we'll check your pulse. So the nurse tries to check my pulse with like the machine that they put on your finger, can't find a pulse. Then they try to manually check it, also can't find a pulse. So they sent me to the hospital, and it turns out that essentially my body was eating my heart, which is something that happens when you don't have enough fat or muscle on the rest of your body. It's sort of like a last resort for your body to gain energy, is to eat the muscle, obviously, like however it can, but the heart is the last thing that it would reach because it's your most vital organ, and it started eating away at that. So that was sort of the cutoff for me, and I could no longer live. I did a PHP, partial hospitalization program, all the way until the like week before I was to return to Northeastern for my sophomore year. And this other program that I went to was like very different from the first one, way more holistic and sort of spiritual, and really focused on like lifting the patient up as opposed to just like medically stabilizing them, which gave me a whole different perspective on myself and my life and self-confidence and what it means to be like a woman in society. And that made me way more confident to come back to Northeastern for my sophomore year. And so I was actually very, very capable of returning and continuing recovery, which is up to this point what I've done. So yeah.